By the way, is everything fine? Is all good in this, let's say it is in this sunny Thursday? I suppose it should. So let me start. Let me share my screen first of all. And colleagues, I need your assistance here. Please confirm if you see my screen. You should see it, right?
Yes, we see.
Okay, if it is working, that's fine. I also encourage you to put your questions into the chat. I'm looking into the chat constantly. And let me start. As ordinary, we're starting with something about the speaker. And my name is Alexander Barmin. I'm Chief Software Engineer at EPAM United Kingdom. And I've been to software development for more than 10 years. I really don't remember how many years, but definitely less than 12 or 20, but more than 12, definitely. During this period, I've been writing code using different programming languages. A few of them were quite ancient. I use different technologies, Bloody Enterprise and some modern web frameworks as well. Acted as a team lead, tech lead, solution architect. I was working on site. I mentored newcomers, conducted many technical talks on different topics. Primarily, I speak about Java and cloud, but today I'm talking about different topic. And besides that, besides just working on the project, I contribute to non-project activities as well. And here you may ask a very good question, why I am doing that? And that's actually a very good question. The most frank answer is that I'm bored and would like to do something else except just typing the code, just sitting on sessions. And having so many activities sometimes lead to the situation when I'm so tired that I can proceed doing any outstanding work, just doing something which is required for the project and wrap up my day. Year after year, I started to notice that I'm still interested in doing interesting thing, but in many cases, I do not have enough stamina or brain fuel to proceed. And actually, this is what I'm going to talk about today, the state when you're too tired, too bored, or too exhausted to proceed. There are three main things I'm going to talk about today. Causes and symptoms of a professional burnout, how it's connected with cognitive distortion, and I will share a few useful techniques which helped me to overcome all of that. I want to start with the reasons which can cause the professional burnout or burnout in common. Traditionally, it's possible to split all of them into major groups, external and obviously internal. External, it's mostly about environment and external conditions. Like, for example, uncomfortable condition, for example, you're sitting in a very crowded office, for example, or you're using quite slow computer, or you're sitting just behind the air conditioning and it creates significant problems for your health. Also, there is another important external issue which I need to highlight. It is toxic colleagues. To be honest, it's quite complicated to understand when your colleagues are just joking or they keep something serious. And if it's happening too often, you're starting to notice that it seems that something is not really good and it's quite complicated to establish a contact with your colleagues. And sometimes it create a situation when you just do not want talking to them. Or maybe you have some disease which does not allow you to, let's say, work productive or being fully satisfied with what you're doing. And maybe you're just completely exhausted. Maybe you're super tired. For example, you have been stressed for a very, very, very long time. You know, stress is not something which is bad, but at the end of the stress, what you need to have is some reward. But if you only have a stress without reward at the end, this make you completely exhausted because you don't really see the goal at the end of your journey. Internal reasons, in contrast, it's all about perception of a situation from your own perspective. In the majority of cases, we as IT people work in quite good conditions. We have modern offices, we have up-to-date computers, we have unlimited access to the information, knowledge, but we're still not satisfying with results we're achieving. And why? There are many reasons, but there are a few of them which are happening the most often. First of all, it is unrealistically high expectations. It's hard to explain, but I will provide an example. For example, if you see that you, let's say, have a code which is written good enough, you're looking into it and saying to yourself, well, I can do it even better. And next time when you write your own code, you're again trying to overcome your previous results and do it better again and again and again. And at the end of the day, what you're doing, instead of doing something which is good enough, you're doing something which should be perfect, and you're spending a lot of your own energy and a lot of your brain fuel, a lot of your let's say efforts in order to do something which is good enough, first of all, for yourself. And the previous problem quite often lead to the second one, perfectionism. In case if you're doing something, it should be done in the best possible way. If code is not covered, for example, with tests by 100% or at least 95, we all know that 100 is not achievable, it is not covered. If lines in your diagram are not aligned with the grid to perfect, the whole diagram is messy. You may notice it in small bits and pieces like indentations, like drawing, consistent naming, and so on. But every time when you're doing this extra work, extra effort, you're spending 5 more extra minutes to do that. And at the end of the day, you may notice that instead of solving a simple problem in the simplest possible way, you're trying to do it fantastically amazing and spend much more time. The problem is, the main problem here is that you can't take a step back anymore. Because let's say you can say yourself, like, my colleagues has already seen that I'm doing fantastically good thing every time. And if I accidentally start doing something worse, it will be immediately noticed. And they may notice that, for example, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm not doing it in a good way anymore. So, and in this case, you're increasing the level of criticize. And level of criticize is not to your colleagues, not to your environment, but to your own self. And what else? One problem after another. If you're trying to do your work in the best possible way every time, the work became the most important part of your own life. Like a chair, which has 4 legs, where every leg is a different, let's say, life area. One leg is your work, another your family, relatives, hobbies, leisure time, and so on. And as more time you spend doing all these extra miles, then bigger became the work's leg, and then smaller became others. If you take a stop and take a look back, will you notice that your life is mainly focused on the work? Will you? And that's a very good point right now to ask you. I see that we have a lot of people here on the call. Please raise up your hand or thumbs up if you ever noticed that you're fully occupied with what you're doing and do not have enough time to do what you really want to do. One month, and yeah, I see your hands, and it brings to me to the understanding that I'm really not a one single person who noticed that, right? So it's really important for me to see your hands here today. One more thing which is happening quite often with high qualified people is imposter syndrome. Have you ever asked yourself, am I good enough? Or as soon as I say something, other will notice that I know nothing. Yeah, definitely. I suppose you as IT specialists definitely face the problem like this. And again, there are 2 possible outcomes. On the one hand, you can say, well, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe I'm good enough, but not perfect, and it's okay. And I can cover my gaps or fulfill my gaps sure easily. Or in other case, you can say, well, I'm not good enough, so that I will stop speaking. That's complicated. And in both cases, it's not good for you, by the way. All in all, it's happening day after day. All in all, if something which we discussed previously is happening day after day, you may start feeling that something is not look right. You may say that you're just tired and you need another cup of coffee to proceed, or you need to have more sleep. And if it really helps, you have, for example, another hour of sleeping a day, it helps, that's fine. But if it is not helping and you feel exhausted day after day after day, it seems that something is not good. But burnout has a lot more typical physical symptoms. And one of the most common of them is a frequent headache. Well, all of us can have headache. It's headache. It's nothing new, just because of, let's say, rapid weather change, jet lag, or blood pressure. But if it is happening regularly, it's the first sign when you need to visit a doctor. Another quite common problem or quite common symptom is sleep disturbance. It is a problem when you cannot sleep. For example, you cannot fall asleep or waking in the morning very early or waking up in the midnight just because you experienced an aha moment like, oh, I know how to fix this fantastic bug I was thinking about for a long, long time. Uh, it's really important to notice these situations. Another quite common problem is memory and attention impairment. I'm not saying that when you burnt out, you losing your memory completely. It is just a decrease in level of your confidence in your memory or decrease in level of attention. You can say that, well, it seems I'm on the call, but I do not understand what we're talking about here just because I lost somewhere in my mind. If you have chronic fatigue, back or knee pain, it's again not a very good sign. If you feel that you're drowsy during the day, you may again think about it in, let's say, from different perspective and think about it like a more important symptom of something else. And of course, emotional instability. This, I assume, is the most noticeable mental symptom when you can't keep your irritation inside anymore and you can start, let's say, being rude to your relatives, to your colleagues, to your friends and family. That's not really something good. Oh, let's move forward. I see a few questions from in the chat. Well, I see fantastic comment from Maria. It changed when COVID started. Beforehand, it was much easier to combine work-life balance. And I cannot agree more. And I suppose the main reason is because, you know, what we had previously, we had this, let's say, parties, small parties on Fridays. Again, please raise up your hand if you ever participated in these small parties on Friday, when at the end of the day, you get together with your colleagues and say, damn, I solved 25 fantastically cool problems during this week. And colleagues say, yeah, for example, Artyom, you're a fantastic guy. You did very well. But when you're working from home, it's much more complicated because we don't ordinarily pay enough attention to this, let's say, end of the cycle, to this reward at the end. And what we have a long chain just of challenges, just of stress. So that's really true. That's a very good comment. Well, apart from physical symptoms, you may also experience mental symptoms, obviously. And there are a lot of them, but still there are a few which are very common. If the symptoms are not fixed for a long time, you may start experience consequences. If you ordinarily have unrealistic expectations from your work, you will be less satisfied with any results which are not better than perfect. This is the consequence, which has a consequence. Any result which are not perfect might be considered as uh, irrelevant or meaningless or completely devaluated. Even if you're solving extremely complicated challenge, but not in the perfect way, not from the first time, it is not taken into account just because it is not perfect. And the main problem is that you're trying to surprise yourself, not colleagues or relatives. High expectations from yourself are ordinarily connected with high expectations from others. If you can't accept your own result, you will likely not accept others' result. Nothing is good enough. and as a result, you will have negative attitude to colleagues, because in your ideal world, all should be done in the perfect way, but it doesn't. And in common, you will be less likely have time to do anything new, because what you're doing, you're just fixing problem. Does it sound familiar to you? And here I need to start talking about my own story, because this is the reason why I'm here, because I had similar problem. I faced similar problem. I noticed that work has central place in my life. I thought it is not a problem because I still like what I do. I really keen on software engineering, software development, but what made me worried is that I'm not really happy with result I achieved. I know that I solved complicated challenges day by day, but I was not happy. The reason for that was that I thought that everybody can do that. I was beating elite dragons, but I thought that it's not something outstanding and everybody can do that. I started to be dissatisfied with my own achievement and result. I noticed that I felt exhausted day by day, month by month. I became extremely irritated in case if I'm not satisfied with my results of work. And I understood that I need help. Well, exhausted day by day. Before talking about solutions, I need to tell you a little about cognitive behavioral therapy and the way our brain works. First, about therapy. When I start thinking about it, I noticed that psychology is quite interesting area, and there are many different schools and approaches. I decided to try cognitive therapy because it looks relevant to me. The therapy is focused on learning of a few things. First of all, we have thoughts, and thoughts are affecting our behavior. And if we keep eye on our thoughts, we can change our behavior. Really simple. Let me provide an example. If you're a software engineer, you definitely heard about things like design patterns, reusable, let's say, reusable patterns which help to solve different complicated problems. You don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. You just reuse the experience. Our brain is extremely energy hungry, so it tries to minimize amount of resources it consumes. And also, let's say, we use same patterns every time. Well, you may say that you never heard about it, but let me provide you with a very simple example. For example, in case if you come into the road, you're taking a look to the left, next to the right, next you're crossing the road. This is, let's say, a behavioral pattern because you just used to it. And beside this pattern, we also have automatic thoughts. And again, you definitely noticed it before. I have a very simple example. For example, you're writing the code or you're very busy with something and you're getting a Teams call. What will you thinking about in this moment? You will not think about, hooray, I'm so happy to get a call. You will definitely think like, come on, I'm working right now. I'm busy. I don't want to join any call. And this, I'm busy right now is your automatic thought. And the main benefit here is that when you became aware of this concept, you start noticing them. For example, when right now I told you that you have this automatic talk, and maybe next when you will join the session, or for example will work let's say, focused on something and you get a call, you will notice that you also actually have a chain of thoughts, one after another, when you're thinking about it. Well, and the main benefit is that if you know about these automatic thoughts, you can control them. And they can be altered. Nevertheless, there is one significant and very important outcome. These automatic thoughts are processed automatically, and at the same time, they cannot be always consistent with reality. And this inconsistency is called cognitive distortion. The simplest possible example. Do you want to have a cake right now? Because right now in my area, it's 1 a.m., 1:20, and I'd like to have a lunch. But but what can I say? If I want to have a cake right now, or let's say a piece of cake, does it mean that I'm hungry or I'm bored? And this is a very simple example of cognitive distortion. Well, another good example is when you're expecting something which looks really important for you, but doesn't really important in the reality. So because you have this, let's say, discrepancy, you may be unhappy. Getting back to my therapy, there is a couple of tools and techniques which helped me and which I'd like to share with you. Only two of them. It's a special diary and up-down questionnaire. Two simple techniques which are very, very powerful. So first of all, I'd like to start with observations diary. Idea here is this simple and straightforward. You can create a spreadsheet, you can take your favorite notebook, and you start writing your day or situation which are happening. And it's important to highlight these four things: situation, thoughts, emotion, and your reaction. Idea is relatively straightforward. If you have a situation which you think is not good enough or irritates you the most, or for example, very important for you, you're writing it here. For example, I got a lot of comments during the code review. And what was my thought? Because, if you're doing something which is you think is perfect, any comment to the code review is comment not to your work, but to you. It's important. And so that your first thought would be, well, why are they asking me to change my code? It's already perfect. And you start being irritated because you got comments, you need to redo work because maybe your colleagues just do not understand the let's say the ideal implementation you provided. That's why you have a reaction, like a very deep breathing, or you broken your cup of coffee, or you're, for example, super irritated. Yes, but as soon as you became aware that you have automatic thoughts, like you got comment, that's why your colleagues are trying to criticize you, you can take a step back and think, are they really criticizing me, or they just like to make the world solution better? And when you start doing it, when you start noticing your automatic talks and start thinking about them, you may change your behavior. And next time, before, let's say, being irritated in the same situation, you can say, well, it seems that my colleagues not want to criticize me. They just want to help to make the world solution better. And maybe day after day, you will start changing your attitude to it. From irritation, you will notice that you're starting to have some doubts, or maybe you start being inspired in the process when you're working together on something which is important for all of you. Of course, this tool will not bring you immediate results. You will not become, let's say, more calm or more steady. You will get more stamina immediately. This requires a lot of time to be done. But also, you may notice that there are two additional columns here. You remember I explained two problems to you, which I personally faced. Like I thought that everything I was doing is simple and everybody could do that. And my therapist asked me to write it as well. What exactly I done today? For example, I did a few complicated integration. I resolved many different technical challenges. And as for me, it was not something important or something challenging because I did it day after day during all my professional career. And right now it's just not valuable for me. But when I start putting it into my diary, I started to notice that, well, come on, during this week, I solved so many difficult and complicated project issues, and I feel really rewarding because of it. And my last column is the same, but I also write and still writing what my colleagues are doing, just in order to see their progress. For example, they learned a lot of they learned a lot of, let's say, a lot of new things. They also resolved complicated bugs. And in this case, I also started to notice that my colleagues are also helping me. We're all working together. They are not trying, for example, to criticize me. They're trying to help. It was very important. It was very important for me, and I'm still doing it. Regarding the diary itself, there are different recommendations, and sometimes it's recommended to use handwriting for filling it, because in case if you're doing handwriting, you're more, let's say, more parties are involved. But as for me, I just did it in Google Docs just because I used to it, and I shared the diary with my therapist. This is, let's say, only one tool. There is a second important tool, which is called What If. Again, this is a tool which requires a lot of work from your side. If you have perfectionism, imposter syndrome, and you're very worried about your future or think you have some negative beliefs, you may try to check them. Technique can be applied to almost everywhere, and idea is straightforward. You need to choose a belief you want to check or prove, and every time ask a question. What if or what if not? For example, should I do everything in the most proper possible way? This is my belief. I should do everything, because otherwise I just will not be noticed, or I will be fired. And what is the most possible negative scenario? For example, my colleagues will understand that I can be wrong sometimes. Well, what is the probability? Even roughly 50%, 20%. Okay, let's admit 20%. What can be consequence if my colleagues notice that I'm wrong sometimes? Well, maybe my colleagues or my boss will stop relying on me. And again, what's the probability of it? Well, I already got some credibility in my project. Yes, we are all humans and we all can make mistakes. But still, let's imagine the worst case. Let it be 15%. And after that, if my boss, let's say, stop relying on me, what could be the most terrible outcome? I can be fired because I'm not showing outstanding result, just normal. It's really unrealistic, but still it can happen. And what I have at the end, I see that probability of all these consequences to happen at the same time is really, really low. And what does it mean? Well, it doesn't mean that I should not take care of my work results anymore. It is just show that, well, maybe in case if I will pay not outstanding efforts but normal efforts, it will not have significant, let's say, drawbacks. It will not have significant, let's say, significant problems. But the main benefit of it is that it shows that this energy, these efforts which you're paying can be returned back to you, to your family, friends, to your own hobbies, and so on. Well, what else I did? I noticed that I'm following patterns, just like automatic actions. We have habits like to do something like brush our teeth in the morning, and we also have habits of thinking in a particular way. Our automatic thoughts, when you start noticing them, you will start changing them. I'm still filling my diary. I'm still using what if technique, or as it is suggested in the chat, snowball effect. And the last one thing I did, I still noticed that I need help from someone else. I visited a therapist online. Honestly, I had a very wrong idea of the process itself, that I should go to a particular place, lay on the sofa and tell about my childhood. No, definitely not. I was really impressed that it was an intensive mind work, which I should do on my own. And the question you may ask at this point, how will it help me to beat the burnout? And that's a very good question. And I see a lot of comments in the chat that you need to talk to your resource manager. You may try to rotate to a different project. You may, for example, join the loyalty trading and so on. And that's very good. And it will definitely help you to resolve external factors. Just because you're, let's say, getting better computer, getting better project, you will be in different opportunities and so on. So if you feel that it helps, just talk to your resource manager. It's easy. And why I'm telling that it is easy, because we have internal factors which cannot be eliminated so quickly. Because in order to eliminate them, you need to do many things. First of all, you need to admit that the problem exists. You just cannot say that I'm too tired, or I'm too lazy, or too stupid. The second step is to take a break and think. Because we're always in rush, we always pushed by our deadlines, and it's really hard to find calm time when no one is distracting you and really think about where you are and what you're doing. Next, what you may need to do is to start filling the diary in order to understand, is it the problem which is happening regularly, or just today is a not very good day? And right after that, you may start visiting therapist, and you definitely need to admit the progress. And here diary is a very, very good tool. Well, what I want to say in the conclusion. Well, I have a fantastic comment from Susanna, PhD, thesis idea. Early childhood trauma was writing efficient code. Yeah. Well, it might be connected, to be honest, because if in childhood you were asked to do everything perfectly, more likely you will write code in the best possible way. So it sounds very, let's say, sounds very funny, but it still might be a problem. But it's not a problem for this talk. Well, what I want to say in conclusion, professional burnout exists because you may heard that this is not something which exists, you're just lazy. And existent, it has long-term issues and consequences. Most of the external causes can be eliminated easily, but it takes a lot of time to fix your cognitive distortion and fix your internal problems. I definitely recommend you to have time for rest sometimes, because you definitely need to recharge your batteries. Do something which makes you happy. Switch activity. Do not forget about physical activities. Well, I noticed that even when I'm very busy, I have time to walk with my dog. I really enjoy that time. Don't forget to take care of yourself. If you feel something which doesn't look right, it seems it's time to heal. Well, I also recommend you to read a book written by Robert Leahy. It's better to read it in your mother tongue. It's a very simple book and it's very interesting. It includes many different techniques and examples which can help you with something, or at least know more about how our brain works. Take care of yourself. Your health is the most valuable gift you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have one question from Julia. Julia, are you ready to unmute yourself? Oh, it was a reaction. It also might be an option because she has raise hand button. Julia, are you with us? Julia Varabi? Nope. So I assume that it means it's no question. Guys, do you have questions?
Yeah, I see a question in the chat from Pavla.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a very good question. The question sounds like, would you agree that burnout is an inevitable part of our job and we may need to constantly fight it? Then we fight it once, it doesn't mean you can't experience it again. When it's a very good question, to be honest, and I do not think it is inevitable part of our job. It is just something which we have tend to. This is what I want to say, because our work is very mind and emotion intensive, because we're working by our brain, and first thing which is exhausted is our brain. And nevertheless, it doesn't mean that one is consequence of another. What I want to say is that you may understand, you may notice when your state, your feeling are not good, and you may start fighting it on a very early stage. Because if you notice that it's early, it will be easy to heal it. And the second part of the question, again, if you manage to resolve it once, you might know the symptoms and you know the techniques already. For example, if you got a cold, you already know the symptoms like running nose, and you already know what you need to do, like take paracetamol and drink hot tea. This is maybe not similar, not the same, but similar. Thank you for the question.
And I think that we have time for one more question. Did you perhaps try non-scientific resolution mindfulness training techniques, for example, Zen meditation?
I tried, and the problem was that I tried them before visiting a therapist, because at that moment I thought that it is something which may definitely help me, but I tried to do it in the best possible way. So unfortunately, I was not aware about automatic thoughts at that moment, and unfortunately, it did not have the expected result. But right now, yes, I would say if I start doing it, having all my current knowledge, it would help. So again, it's all about knowledge. If you know how your brain works, you know how to help your brain to, let's say, help your brain to work properly. Otherwise, if you don't know it, it's a bit more complicated.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alexander, for being with us today. Thank you guys for your comments. We're going to share all the materials and presentation with our follow-up email. And please welcome our second speaker, is Anton Ilchenko. Anton, the mic is yours.
Yes, hello everyone. And Andrei, thank you very much for very interesting presentation. So please let me know if you can see my screen, if you can see my presentation.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, so we covered a lot of topics in our previous talk by Andrei. So I will focus on other aspects of burnout that have been described by previous speaker. And in my presentation, you will see some words ending with bang or exclamation mark. So that indicates an action that I suggest you to take. So I'm talking about burnout from a little bit different point of view, as I did research related to burnout. So it's I wasn't that much involved into this. I didn't have that much burnout as Andrei had, so I wasn't able to describe it that detailed in that particular way. But I will describe it from a little bit external situation, external point of view. So let's start with the definition. What is a burnout? So from my perspective, this is this is an unofficial description, and it is the first mention of a burnout in psychological science, and it reads that burnout is a severe stress condition that leads to severe physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion. So from here we can extract some thoughts that burnout is not a fatigue. This could not be relieved by taking a stress, and burnout, it is a state, not a process. So let's take a closer look at the process. Yes, as Andrei said, and we are all developers, as Andrei said, this thing is burnout is when we are demanding from ourselves too much. So we have some energy and we have some threshold, which actually triggers the burnout state. So Yes, so we have a lot of energy, and we are trying to do the best from us. Sometimes we fail, and we are losing self-esteem, we are losing energy, and in the end, you see return false. Yes, so this is how it works. Okay, so moving forward, so burnout stages. This is actually the depth of the this void when we are drowning if we have a burnout. So first of all, we start to pushing ourselves to the limits. So as Alexander, sorry, not Andrei, but Alexander said that we have some energy and we are demanding a lot from ourselves. So yes, so we are starting to lose energy. We don't have enough energy for our everyday work, and that's why we're starting to force ourselves to do something, at least like to do it at the same quality, to maintain the same SLA that we have. But we are still losing energy, so we start to reduce time spent on ourselves. So that means sometimes we can stop doing our hobbies. We stop, for example, walking with our friends, and actually we are changing the patterns, but I will talk about it a little bit later. Displacement of conflict. Yes, so we started to be irritated, and a lot of things can trigger a conflict inside of us, and we are spending more time for this conflict not to be external. So yes, so and because of that, we can become no-lifers. So we can minimize the social contacts because we have a lot of people who are irritating us, and also we have a lot of power required to communicate with those people. So this is not good, but it's not the end. And then the true the true fun starts. Self-denial. So this is I'm the worst. Why I'm leaving? And this is a very bad state. That means that we are not living. We are living on minimum, so on a very minimal setup. So this is definitely the point when we need to ask for some help from doctors. Then yes, we are going with withdrawal, but this is a quite logical consequences of self-denial. And then we can face changes of behavioral patterns. Of course, as Alexander said, and I'm totally agree with him, that we are changing our patterns we can have it in earlier stages, because well, we need to have some energy, and we don't want to we want to optimize our energy usage. So that's why we can change it earlier. But at this stage, at stage 7, this could be a significant change, and we can. And the main point here is that we can. We want to change those patterns, and we're definitely doing it, and which we are changing those patterns to minimize as much as possible our energy consumption. And after that, because we changed ourselves, this could be a depersonalization. And this is when the true danger starts. After that, we have inner void. And you definitely understand that it is a mental state. It is like a border state of a mental sickness. After that, we have depression. And it is not a depression like, oh, I don't want to get up from bed because I'm depressed. No, it is like people don't want to live. People just don't see any meaning of lives. And this is definitely a medical state. And the last thing is exhaustion. Exhaustion means that we are truly lacking power, and we have a lot of psychosomatic symptoms. So at this point, a person definitely needs for a medical treatment. But of course, we don't want ourselves to get into that state. So let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more about symptoms, just so we can understand. So I won't stop that much because it's already been covered in our previous talk, but I will just highlight some of them. So I would like to highlight frequent illnesses, because burnout lowers the immune system, because it's a long-term stress, and it makes people more susceptible to colds, flu, insomnia. Yeah, so this is quite bad thing. Also, escape fantasies. But of course, a lot of people have escape fantasies. We are creating worlds in our imagination. But here we are, most of our fantasies are about running away from, I don't know, from this place, from this life, from this job, and those fantasies are just about running away. And as a consequence is extreme escapism. So that means people, they want to escape desperately this reality, and sometimes people start to turn to some drugs, alcohol, or they start to demonstrate a very unhealthy food preferences. So yes, because they want to numb their emotional pain. Okay, so consequences of a burnout. Yes, we can also describe, I can divide it into 3 groups, and you can see that this is a triple lose situation. For personal, we already discussed what we have. From professional point of view, we have professional failures, degradation and regression, so not that good. And from the company overall, we have project failures, we have team degradation, lower efficiency, and attrition. And because the burnout is quite contagious thing. So then let's think about what we can do. So it's also extends a little bit what Alexander said. So first of all, we need to maintain our ambitions. Yeah, no, seriously. We cannot be perfect at everything. And we just need to understand truly what we can do. And there are a lot of techniques what we can do, how we can maintain our ambitions. So there are a lot of techniques, and we can just, you can pick anything that you like, but this is what we need. We need to be more realistic what we can do. I mean, we don't need to blame ourselves for each failure. Then we need to optimize the energy usage. I will talk about that a little bit later. And then we need to keep work-life balance. This is the main point. This is definitely the key point of overcoming burnout and avoiding it. So let's talk a little bit about energy management. So in general, this is a very simple thing, and I would like you to understand the key points. So imagine ourselves as a, I don't know, smartphone battery. So we have some capacity, and this battery can be recharged, can be like discharged. So we need to understand, as in our electronic device, every action requires energy points. So by every action, I mean your heartbeat, your thoughts, like your breath, walk, talk, everything. So every action requires energy points. And the next thing is that the capacity of your battery is limited. So you have a limited amount of energy during the day, and actually, yes, your battery has its capacity. And there are different points, there are different types of energy points. I think also Alexander covered that. So we have mental energy and we have physical energy. And we need everything, we need all those energy just to live our life. So we have physical, to walk, to talk, to have some necessary physical services that are running inside of our body. And mental, yes, we also need to think, to work, because we are working with our brains more than our hands. Energy capacity can decrease over time. That means like a battery in a smartphone, it can be degraded. So for example, if in the beginning of our, I don't know, period, we can have a good sleep, and then our battery is recharged. But then we need more time to do that. So the energy restoration efficiency lowers because we have our capacity decrease over time. And that's why to increase our energy capacity, we need to have we need some time to go for a vacation. And let's talk a little bit how to increase efficiency of energy points, because we have limited amount of them, so we would like to increase their efficiency. So first of all, know your capacity. Yes, some people have a lot of energy and they even can share this energy with others. So yes, it's a good thing to know your capacity. And I would like to also to draw your attention into banks inside of not after each sentence. So that means that action that I suggest you to take. So the second thing, plan your time. Yes, time management is the key here. Time management is the key to our to maintain our work-life balance. Then we need to reduce number of switches. So it's also a key about it's a key of maintaining work-life balance. It's a key to time management. Group into blocks. Of course, it's also a time management thing. So to reduce number of switches, we need to group our tasks into blocks. Take a rest. Definitely, we need to take a rest to recharge our batteries. Then create a personal plan. So it's always a good thing to know what you whom you would like to be and what would you like to achieve. So this is a good thing to create to set a goal for you and create a personal plan. And yes, so you need to say no, really, because sometimes we have a lot of people who would like us to do a favor for them, but we definitely sometimes we have a lot of people and we need to spend a lot of our energy to do a favor for others, and we are draining our energy. So yes, learn how to say no. This is a very good thing. And this is how our capacity looks like over time. But of course, it's not bad like that, but I just want you to see how it looks like. So you see that we have less and less energy, like its capacity. So even a good rest at night won't give us a full charge. So yes, and as you can see, because we don't have that much energy, that can lead us to a burnout. So a couple of words about how to increase capacity. Take a vacation. This is the main reason of why do we need a vacation. And even in some countries' laws, for example, in Poland, you need to take certain days of vacation during the year. Okay, manage your work-life sleep balance. Yes, as I mentioned previously, this is a key point to overcome the burnout. Group and change activity type. So it's a time management thing, and we definitely need it. Procrastinate. This is a marvelous thing, and I really encourage you to procrastinate sometimes, because procrastination is a process which gives us an instant joy, instant reward, instant result. And if you will, I also have some. I've completed some investigation about procrastination. So if anyone would be interested, I will create a tech talk about that. And reward yourself, because reward it's a result of our work. It's a result of what do we need to do. So yeah, let's go for the next slide. So some more tips about how to prevent a burnout. Exercise. So do some physical exercises. It will burn your. It will not burn you out, but it will burn out your like stress. Sleep well, of course. Have omega-3 in your ration. This is a first aid help, but of course, if you have some allergy, don't do that. But yes, this is a good thing. And ask for help. So seriously, just don't be shy. If you need some help, you can ask your friend, your manager, your doctor. So it's not about I'm a weak person and my problems they are just very miserable. No, you need, if you feel that you need help, just go and ask. And a couple of words, what do I need to do if my friend has a burnout? So first of all, listen. If you would be such a person to whom your friend asks about help, so first of all, we need to listen, because many problems will go away if you just listen, and person will find solution without any actions from your side. So validate this. That means that you need to understand what do you hear. So that you need to understand the problem, and actually the person needs to understand that the problem is exactly what they describe. Offer help. Yes, this is a thing. Sometimes we need. Sometimes we can help with a very limited, little amount of energy. So but we can save our friend actually. Warm. By this I can by warm I mean that sometimes people, they feel like physically cold. So you can offer a cup of tea, you can offer hugs, you can just offer go out somewhere. So this is just some actions which will distract and the person from which will actually take away person from the environment, and which will help to warm this person. And you can also ask for help. So if you feel that this problem definitely this is definitely a problem, and this problem is quite harsh, so you can ask for help from a doctor or from a manager. And I think that's it. So I have some articles for you for further reading, but of course we will share the presentation so you can see it. And that's all. So thank you very much for being on this presentation. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time for your questions.
But we have 2 minutes, so we can proceed with at least last question. I found it personally very interesting, and we have both of our speakers. Maybe you can both answer this, or at least try. So Maria asking, how come that procrastination is promoted during burnout? This can be promoted only when you know a person with burnout condition and is actually not a procrastinator by default. No?
This is a little bit provocative. That was a little bit, procrastination here is a provocative thing. So yes, procrastination can help you in case if you need to recharge your batteries during the day. For example, you can just go to a game room and have some fun playing with your friends. So in this case, it could be considered as a procrastination. But of course, you don't need you need to take control of your time here, because if you would procrastinate that much, then you will start to hate yourself because you haven't done anything. But yes, of course, you need to. Procrastination is the thing that you need to handle with care.
Thank you, Anton. Alexander, do you want to add something on this? Do you have any thoughts?
No, I don't have. I don't think I have any thoughts. But what I want to add is that, well, if you feel that you need to have a rest, just do it. But do it in a bit different way than ordinary. Instead of just laying and watching TikToks, you try just to lay and do nothing. And next you will understand what exactly you need. Maybe you really need to take a rest and sleep for a moment, or you're just bored and want to be entertained somehow. So as ordinary, it's necessary to think about what you think.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much. And the last question for today, guys, is, can burnout reduce your passion about your work, like chronic? Anton?
Of course. It definitely, because burnout leads to our self-denial. And as Alexander mentioned previously, imposter syndrome, yes, of course, it definitely leads, and actually it's a very contagious state. So sometimes your worker, like co-worker and teammate can see, okay, so this person is bad, and I consider this person as a good one, so I can be in an even worse. But of course, it's not for everyone, but sometimes such a thoughts could appear in other people's minds.
Great, thank you. So guys, we're out of time. So thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for your kind words. Our speakers were amazing today. I can agree with this. Let's give them a bit of reactions and applause by using reactions. Yes, you can see, guys, how wonderful it was. And thank you so much for your expertise, for being with us. Don't forget to follow us on VIA Community. And our next event will be during the first quarter, I believe. We're taking some time just to, to think about our goals for the next season. And if you have any ideas or you want to speak with us, just contact us. We are always happy to find new talents and to highlight and spotlight your topic. So thank you one more time. Take care of you, and don't get burnout. Take control of your life.
Stay cool and productive.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.